Hey guys, what's going on? We've got a really fun video today. This is a custom sigil tattoo that I created for my client as part of my Tattoos for Trauma program. So if you're not familiar with this program, we take an intention created by the client. In this case, this is my client's intention. I then transform it into a symbol that becomes the basis for the tattoo design. So you can see here, I'm just going through, playing around with some colors, trying to get a feel for what represents the intention behind this symbol. So we have a final design here. This is what I came up with, and here's where we're putting it on the skin. So we just start by laying down a nice clean stencil. Peel it away and it looks nice and beautiful. That's what we want to see. And then I start just by using a 7-round liner, and I'm using a baby blue just to put my outlines in, because I know that I don't want my outlines to be really dark. So I use my baby blue because this symbol is going to be glowing. I really wanted it to convey that sort of inherent life force that it has, because it is a sigil. It's created with intention. It's created to represent the healing journey that my client has been through as part of my Tattoos for Trauma program. So again, just going through with my blue, putting my lines down, and I'm gonna go through and I'm gonna do that for the entire symbol. So now that the basis for my blue outline is done, I'm taking a 5 mag and I'm going in just to start to build up the thickness of that line, because again, this is a symbol that's going to be glowing. So I'm going from lightest in the middle to darkest as we transition outwards. That's what's going to give us this really nice glowing effect. And I love using the 5 mag for this because I can get into all these tight little corners, and just like right here, I turn it sideways if I need to, and it gives me a really nice chisel edge. So I'm just going through with my 5 mag and I'm starting to build up the thickness of that line around the entire symbol. Now that that thick blue outline is done, I'm going in with my next darkest value, which is my deep blue, and I'm putting that in right next to my lighter blue edge, because again, we're going from lightest in the middle to darkest as we transition outwards, because this is what creates the glowing effect. So you can see that I'm moving my hand pretty fast right now, and that's because I don't necessarily want this to be super solid. I want to, number one, test out how my machine and how my needles are reacting on the client's skin. So it's always better to be a little bit too timid rather than too aggressive right off the bat, because again, you can't undo things, but you can certainly build things up step by step. So I'm going in with my blue and I'm adding that darker rim around the already, the baby blue that's already there. And actually right now what I'm using is a deep purple. It looks blue on camera, but I do have quite a bit of purple in this design. So I'm going and I'm building up some of my watercolor edges with that darker purple. And again, I'm still using the 5 mag. I love using the 5 mag. I just find it's incredibly versatile. I can do a lot of things with it. And it's really great for smaller, more detailed areas without transitioning over to the liners, because I'm not really a huge fan of using liners unless I have to. I just find that the likelihood of tearing the skin or causing damage is a lot higher. So I'm using my 5 mag here. I'm whipping out really fast because I don't want this to be super solid. I want this to be a place where I can transition my blends, and I'm gonna go back over top of it with some blues and some purples to create a nice gradient. And I'm actually using a lavender right now, going over top of my darker purple and starting to blend into the blues that are a little bit closer to the symbol. Again, just transitioning back to the baby blue and going back over top of the lavender just to blend things in a little bit more. Gradients are really important to me, and I'm not really the kind of tattooer that focuses on perfectly smooth, beautiful whip shading. I find that I like to blend things maybe a little bit rougher, but it gives it a more painterly look to it, which I actually like. I like seeing the colors and how they blend on the skin as opposed to something being too perfect or like it was made by an airbrush. And maybe that's just my own inadequacies or my own laziness speaking, but I vibe with the way that I approach putting color in and putting gradients in like that. So again, we're using the purples, and I've actually picked up a bigger needle right now. This is a 13 mag, and I'm just using it to punch in some of the bigger areas of lavender in my design. And you can see I move my hand really fast in areas where I don't want it to be super solid. It gives it a nice kind of watercolor effect. So I move my hand really fast if I want it to be soft and kind of blended out and whipped out a little bit. And I'll go slower and do tighter circles if I want things to be punched in more solid. But typically I punch things in solid afterwards because I like to layer things. And again, once you go too solid, you can't transition back out of that. So might as well take your time and build things up. Just doing the same thing here with my darker blue, going around the edges of the symbol, blending in with my lighter blue because this is going to create that, once again, glowing effect. You got it, yeah. So, and another important aspect of that is that it creates nice contrast too, because I'm hardly using any black in this design at all. I actually can't even remember now as I'm creating this video. I can't remember if I used any black in it, but creating contrast is really important for any tattoo. If you don't have the full value spectrum, then it's just gonna look flat. So make sure you get the contrast in there. It doesn't have to be super thick black bold lines and black elements, but you do want to create contrast with your values and again also with your color palettes too. And you can get into more complex contrast theory and talk about using different shapes to contrast with one another or different elements, but in this tattoo it's pretty simple. We're just focusing on values to contrast. And then grabbing my 13 mag, going back over top with my lighter blue and punching that in a little bit more as well. I'll tell you, this tattoo was a lot of fun to work on. I really loved the creative aspect of transforming my client's written intention into an actual symbol that holds that intention on their skin forever. It's like anchoring something in to the body and to the mind and into the spirit in a way that you don't necessarily get just by writing out your statements or speaking your affirmations out loud. So again, you see me moving my hand really fast here, just wanting to whip out my blues, whip out my purples, and I'll slow down where I want things to be a little bit more solid. Or if I'm just not sure, if I'm feeling shy, if I'm feeling timid, I'll go a little softer just until I get a feel for the skin and how it reacts and etc, etc. It might sound crazy to say, but there's a lot of testing that goes into a tattoo when you're working on someone's skin. I'm testing how the needles affect the skin, I'm testing different hand speeds, different motor speeds, different hardness settings, and then I'm testing each individual ink, and I'm testing how my client reacts too. So there's a lot of trial that goes into this, and I don't want you to think that everything is 100% pre-calculated right off the bat, because the truth is that it's not. So here you're seeing me do the final step, and that's packing in my white. Now, white is notoriously difficult to pack in, but all I do is I use my 5 mag, I grab a fresh needle because I find it's impossible to clean color out of an existing needle, so fresh needle, and I go slow and steady, just packing it in, making sure it's solid before I move on. And you see me doing that here, just building it up, chiseling back and forth, small, steady circles going through the center of this symbol to really anchor in that glowing feeling. And afterwards, what I do is right here, I'm using a 9-round liner just to punch in those whites on some of the edges where I can't quite get my mag in the way that I feel like I need to. So I do use liners, I just use them sparingly and only when I need to. But this is a perfect example of how I'm using the liner to help punch my whites in those corners where it's hard to get my mag in. So just as a final little bit of a touch up, I grab my liner and I'm doing a little bit of a stronger edge around the watercolor. And I don't know why I like this. I just think that it makes it look a little bit more clean. It makes things look a little bit more solid. It gives some sort of dynamic impact that I don't necessarily find I always get otherwise. So it's just been a part of my process for watercolor tattoos for a long time now, and I love the way it looks, and I guess that's what matters. So this is the final result. I was super happy with how it turned out. My client loved it. Lots of fun to put together. What do you guys think? Leave a comment down below. Do you have any questions about this? Or maybe there's something that you want me to elaborate on. Definitely leave a comment and just let me know your thoughts. It's super great for me to hear how you're responding to this because it helps me create the best content for you. All right, I'm Oliver. This is The Artist Room, and I'll see you next time.